Welcome to Wired Lotus's tutorial. Today what we're going to do is we're going to be looking at how to create hoop earrings. These are more of a dangle hoop earrings, and this is actually two tutorials in one, because first thing we're going to do is show you how to create one of these hoops, and then we're going to move on and we're going to show you how we created this. This is actually one of the hoop earrings, but we've stacked some beads on top of it and then did a few dangles. So we're going to show you how to do that. Let's go back to our hoops. What I want to show you is I want to show you how these hoops get progressively smaller. Here we have the largest, and right here we have the smallest. And it's all the same kind of process. The only difference that we use here is we use smaller and larger dowels. And then here's the hoops that we have in between here that you can see here. One other hoop I want to show you that I've created just to show you what can be done with this hoop is, because we do a lot of wire weaving here, is a wire woven hoop. So I've just taken one of those hoops, kind of like what you saw earlier, the larger hoop, and I've just done a little bit of wire weaving. So this is a very versatile tutorial, and I'm really excited to show you how we're going to create the loop and how we're going to create the dangles from the loop. Let's go ahead and take a look at the supplies that we're going to need for this. These are the tools that we're going to need in order to be able to create those hoops. The first item that we're going to need is wire, of course, and here we have 18 gauge round dead soft wire. This is raw copper. You could use silver, gold filled, gold, whichever kind of wire you want to use. We're going to need a hammer and a steel block. We're going to need a dowel. Depending on the size that you're going to be creating your hoop, it could be larger or it could be smaller. There are some people who prefer more of a dainty hoop, so you would go with a smaller dowel, or someone who likes one of those bodacious hoops, let's go with a 1-inch dowel rod there. And I use the wood dowel rods just because they're gentler on the wire and they're pretty easy to get on and off with the wire. So the other thing you're going to need is 3 head pins. This is going to be for the final projects with the dangles. You're going to need some beads. Here, I've got some beads here and some more beads here. You're going to also need a ruler, ear wires. You're going to need 2 of them because I have one already made. I have one here in the kit that we're going to be using here to create this piece. This ear wire is actually another tutorial, so if you want to learn how to make your own ear wires, this is a super cool ear wire tutorial where we create symmetrical ear wires. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need your tools. The tools you're going to need a round nose pliers. You're going to need some sort of flat pliers. These right here have a nice flat smooth inside jaw here, and these are tweezer pliers. I like these because they really get in with wire. Those are really nice. And then here I have my Xeron cutters. I love these guys. Yeah, they're the 410 micro shears. So these are really nice because they come at a really sharp tip and you really can get in there with the wire. And the flush side or the flat side goes towards the piece and it gives a 90-degree shear. And then this piece here on the outside, that's for the discard wire. And of course, you're going to need your ruler. Okay, so now that you know the tools, let's go ahead and get started and create this project. We're going to start off by showing you how to create this larger hoop here. And this is a wooden bead. Before I begin doing that though, I really want to hit home something very important. Make sure that you get a bead that can fit on 18 gauge wire. If it doesn't fit on the 18 gauge wire, then you're not going to be able to have a bead on your finished hoop. So that's very important. We're starting off with the 7 inches of the 18 gauge round dead soft wire. We're coming in here with our 1-inch dowel rod, that's also 25 millimeters, and we're just going to go about the halfway point on that wire, and we're going to start wrapping it around the 1-inch dowel rod, and I just go ahead and I allow it to just kind of meet on the other side. Now, in order to get a really nice tight circle or loop, I'm pushing this in here is what I'm doing, and I want that to just come in. I'm going to come in here with my flat or my tweezer nose pliers, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to create this bend. Okay, that bend is going to, that's a 90-degree bend, and then the other wire is straight. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that straight wire and we're just going to create kind of this loop around it. We're just creating, if you are familiar with coiling, it's about a half coil is what we're looking at here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to continue pushing that over to the other side as far as we can. Now, at this point, it's going to be rather difficult to coil because we're coiling the same size gauge onto itself. So we're going to grasp hold of that straight end, and we're going to come in and I'm going to shake it a little bit. You're going to have a little bit of waste on the wire. Shaking it causes it to tighten up a little bit, because what I'm creating is I'm creating a coil. And if you take a look at that, it almost looks like two coils there. But I have created my coil. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be coming in here with my flush cutters, and I'm going to be cutting that wire. I come in with the flat side towards the piece, and I'm going to cut. Notice how close I can get, because I'm coming in at an angle like this. The flat side's towards the piece, and just the tips are right there at that wire. Okay, this cutter is can cut up to 18 gauge dead soft wire, so we're safe there. I do know that. Now what I'm going to do with my flat pliers is I'm going to come in and I'm just going to kind of rotate. Again, you can see how these, because they're small, they allow me to really get in there. Okay, come in. Now what I'm going to do, if you take a look at this side is a little bit more forward than that side. So what I'm going to do is take the pliers and I'm going to pull that in a little bit, so it's a little bit more even. That side's still a little bit forward, and that's going to be just the nature of the physics of the wire. I can go ahead and I can pull that off now. And at this point, what I like to do is just kind of push that down a little bit. And I like to come over here to my bench block and my hammer, and I'm going to just work hard in that just a little bit, just so it's a little bit more sturdy. Now, when I work hard in this, notice what I'm doing here. This little coil that I created, it's off the block. I don't want that anywhere near the block, because if I do, it'll smash it. So I'm just going to give it a few taps, flip it over, a few more taps, and that renders that loop nice and sturdy now. Now that's nice and work hard. We're ready to go ahead and put on our bead. We're going to bring in I've got that little wooden bead there, and I'm going to place it on there. Now we want to think of this as like a person's head and a person's body. We wouldn't want the head tilted to the side. We want to make sure that everything's all aligned as best as we can. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick up those flat pliers, and we're going to come in as close to the bead as we can. We don't want to rupture the bead, crack it, break it, whatever. And I'm just coming in. You can see how close I'm able to get, again, because this is that really fine pliers, that needle pliers. And I'm coming in and I just turn that to a 90-degree angle. I'm going to come in with my cutters, and I'm going to also need my ruler, and I'm going to cut it at that 1/2 inch point. So if I take where the bend is and I put it at 0, and I bring my flush cutters in, the flat side towards the piece, right at a 1/2 inch, I can go ahead and cut. Before I cut, I place my fingers here so that the wire doesn't flip out. Okay, I can discard that piece. I'm coming in here with my round nose pliers, and make sure that when you create this loop on top, which is what we're going to do right now, is we're going to just take those pliers, put them right where that mark is, so that when you create the next loop in the next earring, if you're on this mark, it's going to create the same size loop. So I'm just holding onto it there, and I'm rotating my wrist. I'm readjusting, staying on the mark, rotating my wrist, readjusting, staying on the mark, and I do that until my loop has reached the other side. Now remember what I told you about, you didn't want the body and the head to be unaligned. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we're aligned here. I'm going to bring my flat nose pliers here. I'm going to grasp onto the loop, and I'm just going to align it. And there we have it. We're all aligned, we're ready to go. and I'm going to go ahead and put that on the ear wire. I'm going to take the ear wire and I'm going to open it up with the flat pliers. Okay, I'm holding on to my loop and I'm going to pull it towards me. Not out this way, but towards me. I'm going to put the earring on, making sure that I'm happy with whichever side I want that to be on. I don't want the cut side to be up front. I'm going to bring my pliers at about 3 o'clock and I'm going to close it, going back. So back the way that I came. So that earring is done. We've created our loop. Now, can you imagine just taking that same thing that you did, adding a couple more pieces of wire and creating a weave? You've got a really groovy pair of earrings. Even just the way they are, they're really very nice. So let's go ahead and do the tutorial next for this right here. We're going to be creating this using the same maneuver. Here we go. We have the smaller dowel rod. This dowel rod is 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to bring it in at the halfway point, just like we did with the other, and we're going to allow it to cross over. Now I will tell you, this is just a little bit more fiddly than working with the 1-inch dowel rod. It just is. It's just the way it is. Now we're going to bring in our flat pliers and we're going to bend it up just like we did before. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to open up that loop just a little bit so that it looks like that. Okay, so this is where it does deviate a little bit from the other one, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a secure loop. I am going to create the dangles. Let me show you these dangles. Those 3 dangles that we have here, I'm going to create that using a secure loop. I do have another video on how to create a secure loop. So if you really want a good up close look on how to do this, go ahead and go to that video. What you're going to do here with a secure loop is you're going to go ahead and add your beads onto the head pin. You're going to do this 3 times. I'm going to bring in my flat pliers and I'm going to just take those pliers, I would say maybe about 2 millimeters from the top bead. I'm going to bend that at a right angle. I'm going to come in here with my round nose pliers and just go right into where that bend is. Okay, now I'm going to bring that wire up and over. Here we go, and all the way over, so that it looks like almost like a person with an arm extended outward. Now I'm going to hold on to that loop with my flat pliers and I'm going to create a couple of coils. Once I'm done doing that, I'm going to bring in my cutters. Now you're going to really see the benefit of having that really angled tip. See, there we go. See how nice that is? I'm holding onto the wire end so it doesn't flip up and hit myself or my friend in the face if you're working with somebody else. And I'm going to discard the rest of that. And I like to kind of tuck my wires in, and this is the way I do it. Let me show you. I'm just taking my flat pliers and I'm just rotating around. Rotating, and that kind of tucks it over. I'm just kind of adjusting that a little bit. Okay, so now I've taken the liberty of doing all 3 so you didn't have to sit around and watch me do all 3 of those. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 3 dangles and I'm going to put them on the loop that I created. See, they're just going right down in there. And so all 3 are down there. That way, it works better doing it that way rather than having to add them to a loop that's already made. So now I'm going to go ahead and close that loop with my finger, just kind of finger closing it. And now what I can do at this point is I can hold on to this loop here, the big loop here, with my flat pliers, and I'm going to come up and around and I'm going to create those 2 coils. And I just did that by hand that time. I'm going to take a look and see how it looks. It could be tighter. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut it, and I'm going to tighten that up. I'll show you how to do that. The cutters, flat side towards the piece. We can discard that. And we're going to bring our flat pliers in and I'm going to squeeze. Squeezing everything will help that to just compress. Okay, so what we have looks like this. And you might say, oh, Susan, that's kind of messy. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and fix that. Remember what I talked to you about being aligned? We're gonna come in with our pliers and we're just going to align that the best that we can. But here's the beauty of this project, is that you're not gonna be able to see too much of this part here. And I'm gonna show you why here. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our, I have it's like a little bead cap thing here. We're gonna go ahead and add that. I'm gonna put that on there and look at how that drops right over, but it shows that loop just a little bit. Is that cool or what? Now the next thing we're gonna do is add a bead cap on top of the bead cap, which looks like that now, okay? So now we're gonna add the bead, and I have a final bead which we're going to add to the mix, and we are almost done. Here we go. Now, I can see that this still needs to be more aligned. So I'm just going to keep working. That's the thing about wire, is you're always working it. You're always moving it and always working it. So now that's there. Now, you might be wondering, hey, Susan, where do I land this loop? You want the loop to be on the same plane as the big loop. The top loop, same plane as the other loop. Here, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. This loop here is going this way, and this loop here is going this way. So that's what we're going to do here. So in order to do that, we're going to create that right angle bend in the direction right there, just like that. Okay, now we're going to go to our ruler again. We're going to measure it at a 1/2 inch. Here we are at a 1/2 inch. Protecting on both sides. Come in here with our cutters. And I go right to where that mark is. Feel it. If I feel it, which I do, I'm going to pull back more into the cutters. And I'm going to rotate my wrist, adjust, rotate my wrist, staying on that line, rotate my wrist, and rotate the wrist until we get to the other side. Just like that. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it on the ear wire, and we will be done. Here we go. Make sure that it's on the right side, that we're happy with it. I'm happy with it, but I'm not happy with this right here. Coming with my, I don't like to close any loops with a round nose pliers because it will mar the wire because the wire's round. So we're going to hold on to this at the 3 o'clock angle, and we're going to come in. But one thing I want to do is I notice this right here is just kind of up. It needs to come down. It needs to be flat. There we go. We flattened that. So here we have both of those earrings right there. Are those cool or what? Let's just take a look at them going up here like that. Oh, this is so cool. I would totally wear these earrings. Very cool. A lot of swing to them. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful colors. By the way, these beads are check crystals, and I get those from Solano Beads, and I really love them, and they do fit the 18 gauge wire. But you do always want to check with the person who you're purchasing them from and say, hey, listen, do these beads fit? Well, they fit on 18 gauge wire. Thank you so much for joining us here today in creating 2 different kinds of earrings. I really appreciate you. Please give me a thumbs up just to let me know that you're around. And if you want to leave a comment, I love and I read every one of your comments. Thank you so much.